Hello again, I am Blunty. Now, this video is about a reasonably advanced camera shooting type editing technique thingamabob doodler, but it's not necessarily for you guys, you smarty pantses out there, you viewfinder squinting know-it-alls out there. This is for the people sort of dipping their toe into shooting flat. Now, I, as a content creator, I don't imagine myself as a filmmaker. I don't describe myself as that no matter what I'm doing. It always seems a bit pretentious when you're actually just a YouTuber. No, I'm a filmmaker. I'm not a vlogger, I'm a filmmaker. Shut up. But I have always liked to keep things simple. I like to get it right in camera, which means the look I'm going for, everything about the image. I like to just have it be that by the time it hits my memory card, so when I squirt it into the editor, I can just go chop, 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 sort, flippity-doopity-dip, maybe put a title here and there, and away we go. Nice, streamlined kind of workflow. But there is a thing known to actual filmmakers and people who like to self-describe themselves as filmmakers here on YouTube nonetheless, called shooting flat, or shooting in a log profile, or logarithmic. And all that basically means is you've set your camera's image profile up. You know, the image profiles on your camera, where you can go sort of natural and vivid and portrait and black and white and retro and all that kind of stuff. Well, there's often, on at least fancier cameras, and there are ways to do this on non-fancy cameras as well, to set a camera up so you get a very, very flat looking image. There's no additional sharpening or very little additional sharpening applied. Contrast is very low and everything it looks flat. So we call it shooting flat. And there's actually a way you can do it on your iPhone as well. There's an app called Filmic Pro, and there's a in-app purchase you can buy to allow you to get some fancier tools under your thumb. And one of those is profiles such as log and flat picture styles, which gives you a little bit more flexibility. And that's why people shoot flat, for flexibility's sake. Because like I said, what it basically means is you set up the camera up to record what looks like a very bland, very desaturated, very flat looking image. And what we're looking at here is the standard iPhone camera app on my XS Max compared to Filmic Pro shooting in the flat and log picture profiles. Now, even if you're not interested in shooting flat by the end of this video, I do highly recommend Filmic Pro anyway, because you get a lot more control out of that app than you do of any camera app that I've ever tried, actually. And the way the interface works, everything's at your fingertips really easily, from shutter speed and ISO and focus and exposure, and you can break those apart and put them together. And look into it. There's a ton you can do on Filmic Pro, and I've been recommending for years, and it's just gotten better and better and better throughout the years. Hashtag not sponsored. Although Filmic Pro, if you want to send me some money to recommend your app, I will happily take your money, because I recommend your app anyway. Oh, shouldn't have told you that. Send me money to recommend your app to people. More often. That's the deal. I'll do it more often if you pay me. Now, like I said, the Filmic Pro in-app purchase thing can unlock the ability to shoot flat. It's not a true flat image in the way that setting this up with a flat picture profile, or you can actually spend extra money for Panasonic and you get a very, very special picture profile. It costs like $100, $120 Australian. It's something ridiculous. So I haven't invested in it yet, but there is a cine-like picture profile on there, which is kind of flattish anyway, but we're drifting beside the point. It's not true flat because you can't really do that with the level of access that Apple give app developers. So they do it computationally. They use some very clever math and algorithms to work out what the flat image should be based on what's coming in from the iPhone sensor by default anyway, and it actually does a remarkably good job. But yeah, the whole entire reason to shoot flat in the first place is flexibility, control, creative power. And without the standard looks and baked-in image adjustments, what you're left with is a file that has a lot more wiggle room when it comes to editing, color, contrast, and overall look and feel in post-production, in the editing process itself. It's what video nerds call color correction and color grading. Color correction just means correcting the image to sort of a standard set, so whites are white, and the blacks are at a certain level, and the whites are at a certain level. And when you shoot flat, you tend to get more dynamic range, which means you retain more detail in the shadows and the highlights, and you get a more natural looking image overall by the time you're done. Or you can choose after the fact to crush those black levels right down and boost the saturation, get sort of very punchy, poppy look. But the point is, you get to make that choice after the fact. You get to play with it and adjust it to exactly what you want it to be, not just what the camera says it should be with the defaults. And like I said, shooting flat usually means shooting without any extra in-camera sharpening. Almost every picture profile by default is going to sharpen the image, and that's why you get that sort of video-y look as opposed to filmic. I'm going to come back to this in a moment, this video and filmic crap. It's just, but yeah, that's one of the things, one of the hallmarks of that video look. Everything's very, very sharp and artificially sharp, and that's one of the biggest points between camera phones as well. A lot of the worse camera phones out there apply way too much sharpness because they've cheaped out on the lens or the sensor or something along the way, so they apply fake sharpness later to make everything look crispy and punchier when the natural image wouldn't be, and they go too far and it just looks horrible. But yeah, coming back to the whole video-y film, that it looks like video, it looks filmic, that's complete garbage, and I wish people would stop using those terms so broadly, because if you put The Matrix next to American Beauty, they both look filmic because they both are films that have been very carefully color graded for very specific purposes and creative endeavors and things like that. They both look filmic, but they both look entirely different to one another. But any scene from Matrix next to any scene from American Beauty side by side, and they look so completely different, you wouldn't think that a single term could be used to describe them as filmic. Filmic is a useless word. Stop using it. What people usually mean when they say it looks filmic is a lower contrast, a more gentle roll-off into the highlights. The tonality is a bit more gently. Like the way I've got this camera set up, it's a very video-y look, very sort of, there's not a lot of, in my red shirt, there's not a lot of gentle tonality. It's very bright and punchy, and I've got the big purple lights and crap like that in the back, and this is a video-y look. And I'll show you more examples to sort of drive this home as we talk about it. But and like I said before, on my big cameras, my proper cameras, I usually edit in a custom picture profile for my shooting so I can use it out of camera, at least whenever possible. Not all cameras let you do this, but I usually back off in contrast a bit and in sharpness because they're usually too aggressive by default for my tastes. It just gives a softer, gentler look while still maintaining a sort of baked-in crispiness and saturation that I can just use it out of camera. Quite frankly, the content that I make, the vloggy stuff or the reviews or the editorial type stuff or whatever this video, whatever pinch and hole you want to cram this into, it's more than good enough when combined with a little care of lighting and such. So, nothing's too dark or too grainy or too ugly and whatnot. Same goes for the iPhone. I very, very often, in fact, almost always use stuff just right out of the default app without any issue at all. But should I ever have need of something more stylistic to make choices with, Filmic's optional flat profile delivers just a bit more room, as we're seeing here. Filmic Pro also lets you record on very high bit rates, which also helps preserve detail and better color gradation. In the side-by-sides we're looking at, you may not see all that much difference at first glance, but if you look closer at the shadows and the highlights in particular, you'll start seeing it in the skies and such. And when you get to the point of color grading this flat-looking footage, you can do it manually, or you can apply what's called a LUT, it stands for Lookup Table. Basically, it's a file type which kind of mathematically represents a range of image adjustments from one point to another to apply a specific stylistic look designed to be applied over a flat shot video. They're becoming more and more popular these days because it's becoming more and more easy to use them. In this case, I'm using one which is supposed to emulate, albeit somewhat vaguely as it turns out, the look of a classic Kodak film stock called Kodachrome. Very popular back in the day, known for a punchy contrast and a warm tone, and can get slightly greenish sometimes. And what I've done here to prove a point is fiddle around and attempt to match the look between the same scene shot flat and also shot on the stock camera app with the baked in look. I got most of them pretty close, I think you'll agree, and maybe you like one more than the other here and there, but what you'll hopefully be able to see in the image, and what I'm driving at here, is the image where we started flat has preserved a lot more detail and tonal gradation. It looks more organic, more natural, smoother, gentler, more filmic, if you will. And while trying to achieve the exact same look over what the default camera already bakes in is much tougher. We already lost shadow detail thanks to the contrasty image profile. Tones are harsher and less gentle thanks to the lower bitrate and more aggressive compression. And without the extra room in the dynamic range, we lose the highlights more often than not. And it's And again, most notable in the sky, watch for it. And let's be clear here, this is just for comparison. This look is both more aggressive than I would personally use for pretty much anything I do, and stylistically it's a bad choice for my content as well. I just chose it because it's a look that easily demonstrates the point. And again, more often than not, there are very few YouTubers who actually need to shoot flat. You just don't. You get it right in camera and you save yourself a ton of time, both in the process of shooting, because when you shoot flat, you have to be a little extra careful about where exactly your exposure lies. Otherwise, you are going to mess up the dynamic range, and it's a slightly more deliberate process. You have to be more careful. You have to be more knowledgeable. You have to focusing becomes harder because with lower contrast, it's harder to manually focus if you're doing that. I'm just going to wait for that truck to go by. And that's why I do my best to get it right in camera. My time is worth something, and unlike certain YouTubers, you know the ones who buy tens of thousands of dollars worth of cameras and lenses designed for actual real feature filmmakers and TV production, but instead use it for 8-minute long YouTube videos, most of which is flashy B-roll and useless content. Am I coming across as jealous here? Side note, most of my videos are just talking, non-stop talking, very little pauses for musical B-roll notes and things like that, because I try and respect your time. But maybe I'm wrong, because a lot of the YouTubers who do spend time doing that visually impressive but actually pointless B-roll, little vignettes are doing quite well. Now, I want to respect your time, and every word is delivering, every second of the video is delivering some kind of information. And there's those little sequences, the B-roll sequences with the 120 slow-mo footage and stuff like that of someone walking through a path or hopping on their bike or going through traffic or crossing the road or making a pot of tea or coffee or something, are just not respecting your time, are they? They look nice, and maybe it impresses people. Ooh. Of course, in going on that tangent, I have in fact wasted your time off the point of the actual video itself. Right, yeah. Should you be shooting flat, basically? The answer for most of you is probably no, you don't need to. Just spend some time, learn your camera, get it right in camera. Don't necessarily use the default picture profile, but sort of alter it to your personal needs and tastes. But then again, shooting flat is a more slow and deliberate process, so maybe that could help you with your own creative endeavors. If you spend more time thinking about what you're doing, why you're doing it, and how you're doing it, you might do it better in the first place. Because I think I've gotten a bit lazy about some of the stuff I do. I think the content, I'm still happy with the information value of the content, but the way I shoot stuff, I think I've certainly got a bit lazier. So maybe I should shoot flat more often to make me more deliberate, make me think a bit, maybe flex my creative muscles a bit more when it comes to shooting stuff. In fact, in a week and a half time, I'm going to be shooting some stuff at an event. Maybe I'll try some different. Maybe I'll just shoot only manual lenses and shoot flat. Creativity. It's kind of the base level there, isn't it? Creativity. I started out making a video about, hey, you can shoot flat on your iPhone. Isn't that interesting? And this is why you want to do it. And this is the difference it makes. But sometime along the way there, I got sidetracked and we started talking about what inspires your personal creativity. Let me know that in the down below area, those of you who are stuck around this rambly video. I like the rambly videos. I don't know why. They're never very popular. People's attention spans don't last through these kind of videos. But I like making them because I get to get stuff off the top of my head. And sometimes I say things that make me think why I'm saying them, and it leads me down an entirely different creative path. Like what happened here, I guess. Thanks for watching. I am Blunty, and I will catch you next time. Do the things with the sub and the bell and the social media and the Twitch and stuff. Please.